In this video, we are going to be looking at the power of an isolated queen pawn by looking at a very effective game played between Vadim versus Rodrigo. This game is simply phenomenal and one of the model games, I would say. After watching this game, your knowledge about the isolated queen pawn will simply increase by 100%. So I don't want to waste any further time, so let's start. So Vadim is playing with the white pieces and he starts with 1c4 and Rodrigo replies with c6. We have e4, so already this game was played in 2013 in World Rapid. So already it's no joke. So e4, d5, takes, and here we have the move knight to f6. And here white plays the move knight to c3. If white tries to grab the pawn, we have simply knight takes, and white can't really play the move d4 because the pawn would be hanging, and here black is having simply a good outpost on d4. So that's the whole reason white decided to play the move knight to c3. Takes, takes, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop c4, e6, and now we have the move d4. So if you try to go for capturing this knight, takes, and now your bishop is attacked. And both the sides are having the IQP, and black is pretty happy. And if you capture with the bishop, takes, and here black is already having the bishop pair, and both the sides are having IQP, so black is already better. So that is the whole reason white plays the move d4, bishop e7, short castle, and here white plays the move rook to e1. So after rook e1, black plays the move knight to f6. Now what's the idea of pulling this knight back? After knight f6, black's idea is generally to play the move knight to b4, followed by putting the knight to d5, so that white can never ever play the move d5 in the position. So that's why white played the move a3, simply stopping the move knight to b4. And here black plays a move a6, which is already a bad move. In this position, the common way to develop your pieces is to play the move b6, queen d3, bishop b7, and we have a standard isolani where black is developing his pieces, and white can simply continue with bishop to f4, or maybe bishop a2, bishop b1, knight to e5, bishop g5, which is the standard idea for playing if you're having an isolated pawn. But instead of b6, black played a6, and here black's idea is already to play the move b5, attacking the bishop, and at the same time developing the bishop to b7. But actually it's a bad idea, because here white played a very interesting move which I like pretty much. You can try to pause the video and try to think what should be the move that white should play in this position. Okay, so black's idea is to play the move b5 where the bishop is attacked and you have to move the bishop. So it's a much better idea to move the bishop already to a2. So basically, after playing the move bishop a2, it is also known as prophylaxis, because you're already taking care of the threat which is going to arise in the future. So after bishop a2, black already made a blunder by playing the move b5. And you must know that whenever black plays b5 in this position, whenever you are having an isolated pawn, it only strengthens the power of pushing up the pawn, because eventually in the future this diagonal is going to be very weak. So that's the whole point, bishop a2, and here black played the move b5. A common way to continue the position could have been queen c7, bishop e3, rook d8, queen c2, where white is still slightly better because white's idea is to play the move rook d1 and d5, but this would have been the best. But b5 was simply a bad move because white is having already a very strong move in this position. You can pause the video and try to find the best move in this position with the white pieces. Okay, so if you found the move d5, kudos to you. After d5, you are hitting the knight and the pawn, so black is kind of have to capture the pawn. Knight takes, and we have the move queen takes. So many players would like to capture with the bishop, but guys, simply capture with the queen, it's simply better. After queen takes, first of all, black cannot capture the queen because after takes, the knight is attacked. And if I try to protect the knight, I can happily capture the knight, and eventually in the end of the day, I'm winning a piece and winning the game. So you can't really capture the queen, so black played the move bishop to b7, protecting the knight. And here's my second question. Try to pause the video and try to find the best move in this position with the white pieces, and try to find a good idea. Okay, so black's idea is pretty simple. Now black wants to simply capture the queen, bishop f6, sorry about that, bishop f6, rook d8, and black is pretty fine. But here white is having a very strong move which is queen to h5 that that is exactly played in the game. So after queen h5, white's idea is already to launch a very attack via knight g5, attacking the h7 pawn, f7 pawn, because black is losing the key defender in this position, because the knight on f6, which is the key defender for defending the h7 pawn and also covering the h5 square at the same time. After queen h5, now in the game we have the move queen to c7. Like if black tries to play h6, we can already chop off the pawn, takes queen g6 check, capturing the h6 pawn, and now already bishop b1, threatening mate in 1. So f5 is the fourth move, and again bishop a2 check, forcing black to play rook f7, and already queen g6 check, capturing the rook, and the game is over. So h6 is already a blunder, big blunder. And what happens if black plays the move queen to d6, which actually makes a lot of sense, because queen d6, the idea is to play the move queen to g6 in order to defend the king side. So after queen d6, white is already having a very strong move, which is bishop to g5. And after bishop g5, if for example if black simply plays rook d8, we can already trade off the bishop. Takes, you have to capture with the knight, or else the queen would be hanging. So knight to g5, already threatening mate in 1. Queen g6, a fourth move, and here we can already trade off the queen. Black is forced to capture with the knight, or else the knight would be hanging. So knight takes, and here white is already having a very strong move, knight into f7, sacrificing the knight, and eventually because of this particular pin, white is winning by playing the move rook to d1. After rook g1, we are basically trading one pair of the rooks, and still we have threat of capturing the rook. So first our threat is to play the move rook d7 and capture the rook for free. So here black has to play bishop to c6 in order to defend the square of d7, but here we can already play rook to d6 attacking the bishop, and now already capturing the rook, followed by capturing the pawn on a6, and we are already winning the game. We just need to push the pawn and eventually make this into a queen. So that's exactly what happens if black simply plays rook d8. If black goes for capturing the bishop, we capture the bishop with the knight, threatening mate in 1, and after queen g6, we can already trade off the queen, and still we have a threat, knight into f7, rook f7, and now still the move rook to d1. After rook g1, our idea is still to play the move rook g7 and capture the rook for free. And here black can have to play rook f8 in order to defend the rook. And after rook g7, the idea is to simply capture the bishop, because you cannot capture the rook because the rook is simply pinned. And if I try to move the king, I can happily capture the rook and I'm winning the game. So after rook g7, bishop c8, and I can simply capture the rook, followed by rook check, and eventually I win a... Basically now you have to move the king and I can capture the rook and I can win the game. So that's exactly what happens if your opponent plays queen to d6. Now going to the main move, what happens if black plays the move queen to c7? That's exactly what happened in the game. After queen c7, white simply found a very interesting move and the best move in the position, which is bishop to g5. Simply developing his final piece into the game and trying to remove the only defender the black is having, the bishop on 7. And after bishop to g5, we have the move bishop g5, knight g5, and we have the move h6 by black. First of all, just simply stopping queen h7, it's mate in 1. So we have the move h6. And here white can't really go for knight f7 because of the takes, and black is pretty fine, and maybe black is having just 2 minor pieces for a rook, so black is extremely fine. So that's the reason knight f7 is not really working. But here, it's their time to shine. Try to pause the video and try to find the best move that happened in the game. Okay, so if you found this amazing move, simply kudos to you. Your strength is actually pretty good. Rook to e3. A very interesting move. After rook e3, the idea is pretty clear. If black captures the knight, our idea is to play rook h3, and it's a fourth mate in 1. So going back, black cannot really capture the knight. So in the game, we have the move knight to a5, which is already a bad move. The best try that black can do in this position is to play the move knight to e5, which is still bad because white is having a strong move, knight to e6, attacking the queen and the rook. So can black have to capture the knight, and here we can happily capture this knight in this position with the queen. And after a queen trade, black is losing a pawn, and at least in the worst case, white is a pawn up with a healthy position. So this is the best that black can achieve, but knight to a5 was simply a blunder because white is still having a phenomenal move in this position. Queen to g6. Black cannot capture the queen because the f7 pawn is simply pinned up, and white is at the same time threatening mate in 1. So black is kind of forced to capture the knight, and already rook h3 in this position, threatening mate in 1. And here black played the move rook d8, and here it doesn't really matter if black plays rook d8 or rook e8, because white is having a strong move rook h7, threatening force mate in 1. And if you try to play something like queen over here, already queen takes, and queen h5 is already a mate because the bishop covers the light squares. But going back, in the game we have the move rook d8, and white played the move rook to e1, simply covering the e square, and now the threat is to simply mate the black king. So I would say simply a best game played by Vadim to beat Rodrigo. It's a perfect game to play with the white pieces, and you can already sense where were the mistakes of black and what went wrong for black in the position. So first of all, the opening was pretty fine, but the main concern that I'm having in this position is that black should not have played the move a6 in this position, which is already a bad move. Black should always try to play something like b6, bishop b7, which is the normal idea. And here after a6, black even played the move b5, which was even a big blunder in the position. Queen c7 was even fine, but b5 simply allowed d5, and here white simply got this strong d5 in this position. So basically what is the idea whenever you are having an IQP? The idea here is, first just try to play the move d5, just try to remove your IQP whenever you are having this opportunity, just by pushing up the pawn, and maybe it can be in the form of a pawn sacrifice or just getting a good amount of initiative. That exactly happened in the game. You can just launch a very heavy kingside attack on your opponent. Now the second idea in this position here is this particular idea, which looks pretty crazy, but the standard idea is to put the queen to d3, put the bishop to c2 or maybe to a2, basically threatening to capture on h7, and just put the knight on e5, bishop to g5. This is the main setup whenever you are having an IQP. The basic purpose is to launch very heavy kingside attack. So this is the normal way to play whenever you are having an IQP. So I hope that this video might have helped you to improve your knowledge about the isolated queen pawn structure. If it did, then make sure to like the video, share this video with everyone, and make sure to subscribe to our channel. Still 93% of you guys have not yet subscribed to the channel. Just subscribe this channel guys, it's free for you because it motivates to make us more videos like this. So I'm going to see you soon, so till then stay tuned and keep watching Oneshot Chess.